Welcome to the Dental Breakdown Show. This show is where we break down issues in the dental marketplace. My name is Christian White, CEO of White & Associates Practice Consulting, Better Business, Better Dentistry. Let's welcome today's guest to the podcast, Dr. Heidi Torgerson. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a guest on the Dental Breakdown Show today. Why don't we go ahead and have you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm Heidi Torgerson. I originally grew up sort of down by La Crosse on the Minnesota side. I actually grew up riding horses and showing horses, and I really loved that. After high school, I went to River Falls, UW River Falls over in Wisconsin. And it was my first year when I was in undergrad that I went to, it was actually a seminar on dental research. And I just fell in love with dentistry. I guess it was something I had never considered as a career before. It was something that I didn't understand all the complexities of dentistry, all the advancements that they're looking at, and just what an interesting field it really is. And I decided right then and there that I wanted to go into that field. I actually first considered being a dental researcher, and after I did a summer internship. And at the summer internship, I realized I hated writing papers. And so I decided research was not for me, but I ended up going to dental school and really loving it. After dental school, so during dental school, I actually met my husband, Pete.
Nice.
And we got married my senior year of dental school. And then after dental school, he and I went out to Burlington, Vermont, and we did a 1-year general practice residency. That was really a great experience for me. I mean, Vermont is beautiful, but it was a really great way to see different aspects of dentistry and different ways that people practice. And just really got me a lot more information about it. And then after that, we came back and I started right away at Byron Dental Group.
Wonderful.
And Doug and I have been working together, I guess it's 12 years now.
Yes.
And it's really been, a really fun place to work. Pete and I have now had 3 kids together.
Woohoo!
And hopefully they don't, they're actually downstairs right now. I'm hoping they don't interrupt. I'm the only one home, so.
Don't worry, because I have a big Doberman in my house, so I have a big dog, so I'm trying to keep him quiet. So
Josie's over in the kennel too, so
nice.
She may be barking at some point too. And I spend a lot of time. That's pretty much my time is spent with my kids. It's actually my son's birthday tomorrow.
Well, congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, 9 years old. Oh my gosh. So that's a big part of my life right now is just, focusing on the kids.
You said something very interesting that I don't think a lot of people know about you is that, you're a regular Lone Ranger. You got the horse, riding the horses and going through scampering through the plains. I don't think anybody knows that about you.
Actually, we just got a pony I guess it was last year now, actually. And ironically, her name is Sugar.
Nice.
The best name for a dentist horse. But yeah, I'm hoping that we can get back into horse showing and riding here. My daughter and my younger son are most interested in it, and they're a little bit young for it yet, but they just love it. So anyway, we'll probably actually go there this afternoon. So.
Great. That's awesome. So let me ask you this question, Dr. Heidi. What is it, about Byron Dental? How does Byron Dental, how do you make yourselves distinct in the marketplace in and around Rochester?
Well, Byron Dental Group is a really, a patient-focused group. We are really interested in putting the priority on learning what a patient's needs are, and from there, creating goals and working towards those goals, because everybody's goals are different. Some people are very concerned about the looks of the teeth, and other people are really more concerned about the function of the teeth. And, if I want to make sure that we're striving to do what the patient is most concerned about, not just what I think would be best for them. That's a really important thing at Byron Dental Group. We really try to create a comfortable atmosphere. We have, a lot of employees that are really like, that's their greatest desire, is to make the patient feel like when they come in that they get their questions answered, that they're getting their concerns met, instead of just walking in, having treatment done, and leaving. I really feel like that's a big, important part of our practice. One of my favorite parts of our practice right now is something, it's a newer technology. We've had it for about 2 years now. It's a digital scanner. And basically what it does is takes our impressions digitally. And the reason I love that so much is, number one, it's more comfortable for the patients. Number two, it's faster. Number three, and actually probably the most important, is such an accurate way to take impressions, a little more accurate than even the old school way of doing it. And then actually, so that part, I really like all of those parts. But then what I also enjoy is at the end, you actually can show the patient, it creates a 3-dimensional model on a computer screen, and you can actually see the work that we did that day. And that's really neat, because otherwise patients, they know that we did something in there, and they can see that there's a temporary when they go home. But it's really hard to envision what we really did, and you can actually see it. And as the assistant is trimming the models, the patients, I encourage them to watch, because you can see, what the tooth actually looks like now. And, so it's a really good experience for everybody, I think. So that's something I really like. Yep.
So we do not do dentistry like McDonald's does hamburgers.
That is exactly right.
I would say that's very accurate. Having spent a lot of time with you and with Dr. Doug, I would say you guys are a very patient-first office, and you're one of the best that we have seen, and you've got that part nailed. And you can see the patients when they come in the office and when they leave, they're happy, and they come out with having a really good experience having been to your office, Dr. Heidi. It's great.
Thank you.
The technology piece is interesting. You guys seem to have always been up on technology as far as what's going on in dentistry, and you've been able to provide that for your patients. Is that an accurate statement for you guys?
Yeah. We're careful, because I don't like to go out and just buy the latest thing because I think it's going to be great. I like to make sure that it is something that I feel is going to be of good quality and actually improve the patient experience. But yeah, we really enjoy, just being able to improve upon dentistry. It's interesting. Even talking to patients that had dentistry done, not that long. Maybe 15, 20 years ago. That's not that long ago. And a lot of the products that were done even back then are no longer relevant, just because, things change. And there's always improvements, and making sure you're making the right choices in choosing the right improvements is important. But yeah, because there's always something that can make a patient experience better. So.
And that kind of leads me into my next question. At Byron Dental, there's always, there's a question about, well, are we in the tooth business or are we in the patient experience business?
Yes. Yep. And that's a really interesting question, because, when I went through dental school, or especially at the beginning of dental school, I was of the belief it really was just the tooth business. And that was probably the part that interested me the most, was just learning how everything works. But, as you go through it, you learn that it's really more the patient experience, because, as much as anything, dentistry, there's a lot of people out there that do provide very similar services. And when somebody thinks about the service that they received, a part of it is going to be the actual product of, a crown or a filling, or, gum treatments or, something like that. But a bigger part of it is, do I feel like I got what I wanted? Do I feel like I was listened to? Do I feel like I had options presented and I actually got to choose the option that fit me? Because you don't know me, I know me.
Correct.
So that's, something that, when patients go home after they've gotten, whatever treatment we provided, if they go home and they think, what, this is working fine, but that isn't what I felt like I wanted, then I feel disappointed. I feel like I didn't give the treatment that I wanted to give, because my goal is to give, health to a patient, but in such, in such a way that the patient feels like their need has been met. So.
I think, you would agree with me on this, Dr. Heidi, but in a private dental practice like, Byron Dental, the quality in terms of, from a patient is how much time did the dentist spend with me? And I think you
Yeah.
just kind of hit that on the head a little bit, because it's about, did, Dr. Heidi listen to me? When I was in her chair, did she, I said I only wanted this, but, instead, all of a sudden she's talking about this and this, but, did you listen to me? And I think you would agree with me on that, that patients really understand that, and they can come away with either a positive or a negative feeling about that if that's not paid attention to.
I completely agree with that. I mean, I don't know how many times, you feel like that just throughout your day, where, you were really concerned about this one certain thing and you went to someone to help you with that, and that wasn't what you ended up with in the end. And that can be a really frustrating experience. So, and I mean, I do get sometimes, a patient is really concerned about one thing, but they've got something that has to be a higher priority first. So, I mean, like, I do understand that sometimes it's my job to not just address the patient's concern, but also to show them that there is another concern that might be higher up on the list for a little bit. So, I mean, but that's part of my job, is to, inform patients of what's going on so that they can achieve oral health.
hmm And I have sat there and I've watched you with patients, and you do a really good job of asking questions.
Thank
And
you.
you do a great job of that, and patients feel like you have listened to them, and they walk out with, normally they walk out with a smile on your face, when you come out of the dental practice. It's like, all right, but I mean, but at least somebody listened to me, and I think it's important that people know that.
One of the things, I mean, actually more towards, like, when we're seating a crown or something like that, is I know, I mean, like, especially we live in Minnesota, where people are always trying to be nice.
Yes.
And so I tell them, especially at the end of an appointment, like, if we've seated a crown or, a bigger case where we're doing, front teeth or something, I tell them, now, it's important to be picky. I mean, this is something that, we're looking at really closely right now. If there's an adjustment that needs to be made, I'm happy to look at that. And a lot of times that will, I mean, because, I mean, sometimes a bite is off by just, a fraction of a
Yeah.
millimeter, or, or an adjustment on, like, a front tooth just needs to be just slightly up or something, and it will make all the difference in the world. But if you don't have that open and welcoming environment, you don't have the ability to hear that from the patient. And so that's something that I really think is critical for communication with the patient.
The Dental Breakdown Show, sponsored by White & Associates Practice Consulting. Better business, better dentistry. They are a practice management and consulting firm for dentists and other healthcare-related businesses. Their sole purpose is to implement proven strategies through online and in-practice visits that result in the personal professional success of the dentist and his or her team.
This is Dr. Heidi Torgerson from Byron Dental Group. When you visit Byron Dental Group, your smile is our top priority. Our team is dedicated to helping you restore and preserve the natural beauty of your smile. If you're looking for a caring dental practice that puts your needs first, then contact us.
You are one of the more successful female dentists in Minnesota, and yes, that's true. But I think what I would like you to do is maybe share some of your tips, maybe the top 2 or 3 tips that you've use to become, a successful female dentist, and a successful female dental entrepreneur? I think our listeners would love that.
Well, and I mean, I think about that question, and I mean, one of the things that I was talking to my husband about this actually is just that um, I, as a woman, haven't really felt barriers. And
Hmm.
so, like, when I answer this question, I really just mean it as just being a successful dentist. But I mean, one thing that I have always really thought helps is actually like when I meet a new patient, especially a new patient in the hygiene, when getting their first
Mm-hmm.
tooth cleaning at our office. One of the things that I think is actually most critical is we sit the patient up and I get to sit in my chair and we get to talk face to face for maybe even just a minute, but hear what the patient wants, what they're concerned about, and what brings them in. And sometimes it really is just, I just moved and I just need a new dentist. And sometimes it's, I had a really poor experience and I would really like to improve it. Or I have all these teeth that really, upset me and I really want to be able to take care of them. And so that is a really meaningful moment, actually, being able to talk to a patient and figure out what is driving them. I actually really enjoyed that part of the visit. So one of my tips, I guess, is just actually taking that moment. I mean, I think a lot of times, in dentistry, it's really easy to get going and wanting to go fast and keep moving, and you sometimes miss those moments, and I think those are critical. Um, so, so that's one tip, I guess I would say. Um, and Another thing that I think is, like, I don't like, to play into stereotypes, but at the same time, one thing that I feel like is a benefit, as being a female dentist, is that I do feel like I'm, a little more in tune to hearing what a patient is saying, but then also listening to their body language and kind of getting an overall vibe from a patient. Do they feel, or do they look like they're actually comfortable? Are they tensing their hands? Are they telling me three different things that sort of lead them towards a certain other thing? Like, are they really just mainly concerned about wanting their smile to be better, even though they're not saying those words? And so that's a big tip that I have learned over the years, is being able to listen to what a patient is actually saying, but then also try to ask them some questions and kind of reiterate what they're saying, but maybe using different words that kind of gets it to a point where I can actually do something that impacts them. Like I said, aesthetic, if they're pointing to three different front teeth, but they're not saying they don't like the color, they're just saying that they don't like, the shape of they don't like a certain thing, but overall that tells me that, they're concerned about how their smile is. Another tip, I guess I would, or have learned over the years is, just having patient or people around you that work well together. One of the hardest things as an owner that I've ever had to do is let somebody go. It
Yeah.
gave me nightmares. It was terrible. I
That's hard.
still to this day feel bad, even though it's been a while, that other person has moved on. It's still really hard, but even though I had to do it, it was the right decision for my team. And I mean, it team needs to work together. And when we hire, well, probably the biggest thing that we look at is personality. Because you can train skills, you can teach people to look at things, from the perspective that you want them to look at them. But but being able to get along with others is something that is just part of some people and not a part of other people. So that's something that I have really learned in the last few years. So, yeah.
Okay. As I listen to you talk about those things, there's some things that jump out at me. And number one, it's not about the dentistry. It's about the
Mhm.
person who's in the chair, and you made that a great point about that, and you do a great job of that, of listening and picking up on those cues. I know that my wife does a much better job of that than I do. All right. And every time we go to a party, I'm on my way home and I say, okay, Heidi, or excuse me, baby, what happened? And she fills me in on everything that I missed out on. So, which that happens every time. So I think you're great. And I think the team piece is critical. A lot of dentists who get into positions like yours, who are owners, don't understand that it's important that everybody work well together. And that's not just a cliche. It's important when patients come in and they're frightened, or they don't know, they're a little scared, to be honest, about being there. And if you can have people who are calming and soothing, it makes all the difference in the world. It's not about just shoving people through that schedule. And you've done a really great job of that, Dr. Heidi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Those are wonderful tips for success. That's great. Dr. Heidi, we have right now a lot of younger dentists who are coming into the dental profession. They're wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, and they can't wait to do their first crown. What advice do you have for them that they could take to help them get on the right path, to help them to be successful dentists?
Well, number one, dental school is so full of so much curriculum and very important curriculum. They don't have time to teach you business. And I have been really lucky. I have a partner, Doug, who is really good with business. He understands a lot of that stuff.
He does.
And so he has taken time to explain a lot to me and, kind of get a feel for, how things should go. But I mean, if there would be a way to, if you didn't have that, if you could take business classes, that would be so helpful. It's definitely something that I wish I was stronger in, and I am learning, but it's definitely something that I feel like I am a little at a disadvantage at. Another thing that I would say I really have learned, and this is, maybe it's just more of a personality thing for me, but I feel like in dental school in particular, you have, they want answers, and that they're a school. And so how people used to, confront me with a concern or something like that, and I used to give them the first answer that would come out of my mouth. And what I have learned is that isn't always necessary. Like, that's a gut reaction, but that isn't a thought out reaction. And if you're looking for or to be thoughtful, you really do need to spend time and think about at least some questions. And so one of the best things I can answer somebody if they have, a question that is a bigger thing like that, is just give me a moment or give me some time. Let me think about that, and I'll get back to you. Because if I have found that if I do come back and think about it on my own when I don't feel pressure, I tend to come up with a better answer. So, like, as an owner of a business, I would say that's a much more well-received, response versus just coming up with a gut reaction. So that, as an owner, I really like.
Well said.
Yeah. And and then I guess we kind of already touched on it, but just how important harmony in an office is, and how important each staff member is to that harmony, how one person can affect, 5 other people that they work with, and being able to, talk to that person, or, figure out a way to make the staff be able to work together as a team is so critical. I mean, patients can easily sense if there's something off about your office, if they feel like, they don't understand why someone is making them feel uncomfortable. It probably has nothing to do with the patient. It probably has to do with something else, but they don't understand that. All they understand is a feeling that they're getting where they don't feel welcome, or they don't feel, like they can express concerns. So harmony in an office and having staff members that contribute to that harmony is so critical. So when you're looking at an office.
Those were great answers. That was awesome. And they don't teach you any of that in dental school,
No,
unfortunately.
don't.
They don't. But yeah, I've talked to a lot of younger dentists, and a lot of them have questions around a lot of what you just answered. So that was awesome. Dr. Heidi, thank you for being a guest on the Dental Breakdown Show.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
All of our listeners, if they're interested and want to get more information about you and about Byron Dental, where can they go to get more information?
You can reach us at byrondental.net.
Thank you for listening today. I'm Christian White, the CEO of White & Associates Practice Consulting, Better Business, Better Dentistry. If you would like more information on today's topic, you can contact us at whitedentalconsulting.com/breakdown. Keep those teeth white, and see you next time on the Dental Breakdown Show.